We have a diversity crisis. Chanel. People make games video. What it's really like working at blah, 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 blah.
It's a diversity crisis.
I'm sure they do.
I can't tell you how many women work at Valve, or people of color, or non-binary folks, or those who identify as LGBTQ, or disabled people.
Okay, Fishman, but why would you need to tell someone how many of those people work at Valve? Why? Who cares?
Because, well, Valve is a private company, and it doesn't need to disclose those numbers, and also it didn't respond to our own requests for those figures.
What? That's really funny that he actually reached out and asked Valve, like, can you imagine being the Valve person reading that email? It's like, yes, how many women and bisexuals do you have working for you? Look at his bisexual lighting in the background.
Why would they? I mean, if somebody's asking for those figures, they're only doing it in order to create a narrative that you're doing something wrong. Like, how could there ever be a single positive to sharing that information?
Multiple interviewees that we spoke to described the company as having an enormous lack of diversity, extremely white and extremely male.
Who fucking cares? If Valve is working, if it's doing well, who fucking cares what the gender or the race of the people working there are?
There have been efforts made over the years by various employees who've pushed to make Valve more representative. However, I'm told these efforts are largely blocked by either the company's structure or its leadership.
If that effort was being blocked and there was an effort to hire a person that was black and it was being blocked by the nature of the fact that the person was black, Valve would be in a massive discrimination lawsuit.
Absolutely.
And they would have to pay out millions, if not billions
Absolutely.
of dollars.
Do you have any idea how lawsuit hungry people are? Like, they just get a single whiff of, oh, I might be able to sue based on discrimination. They're gonna fucking do it. They're gonna fucking take that opportunity, man.
Yeah, it's just that simple.
It used to be that there were maybe 10 or 15% women in the development teams, but definitely now, I think they've dipped below that point.
Well, you've created an arbitrary criteria point, and then you've said you have to meet this criteria point. Who decided that? You did.
Who, first of all, I've said this before, but where does that criteria point stop? And I have some articles that I'll bring up about this as well. Bridge hasn't released another smart brief because of the holidays, but there have been a couple of other articles I found on my own. And there was in one of the articles, they were just like, oh, there's only 12% black people in C-suite positions in the Fortune 500 or like, I can't remember if it was the Fortune 500, if it was like some other numbered thing. But they were like, black people are 14% of the population, so only 12% in the C-suite is, oh, that's terrible. I'm just like, what the fuck are you, what is happening?
You don't work at Valve. You're not in charge of them. What is this? Valve's estimated profit per employee is around $19 million, making it one of the highest per employee profit figures among major tech companies.
Oh, well, now we know why they want to just like shoehorn some diversity here. They're just like, oh, 19 million profit per employee. We need to shove in some people who might not know what they're doing so they can reap those benefits.
They're doing works and it outperforms all other people that are in the space hired on merit. Yeah, you always hire on merit. If you're not hiring on merit, you're setting yourself up to fail.
The higher up you go, the whiter and male it becomes.
The implication here is that being white is somehow a problem. If you replace the word of the people that you are trying to replace with the word
Jewish, and you sound like it's out of Hitler's manifesto, you might be the problem. Is that what he's about to say? Did I guess?
People that you think are protected, would your statement be bad? And if the answer is yes, then your statement is not theoretically bad, it is just simply bad.
I thought he was about to do the meme and I got really excited.
Pounds the issue, because part of making any field more diverse is that you have to start introducing diversity into it. Valve's not gonna
you don't have to start introducing diversity. If people are qualified for the position, they should get it. They keep trying to tout this mythical, if two completely equal candidates and the only difference is gender, skin color. That doesn't exist. That's not a realistic situation.
Well, I don't think that I feel like the entire premise of this is that it's a problem or that it's necessary. I don't think diversity is something that is a good or a bad thing. Having more diversity doesn't make something better, and it doesn't make it worse either.
Correct.
It's just simply a collection of people.
Correct.
And there are already more middle-aged white guys in the games industry than any other group of people. So
But because they've been there the longest. What do you mean? They've been there. Nerd culture was like white men culture for like decades. They were like the only people that cared, and everyone made fun of them for it.
Well, the premise of this is that it's a problem that there are middle-aged white guys in the gaming industry. I think that if you said there's a lot of young black women here, like I would say
There's too many young black women in the wig industry. They're the only ones. The only ones there were the ones that built it. Yeah, it's like I played games since I was a little kid, right? There were obviously like black people and women who enjoyed video games or who wanted to get into programming and shit. Obviously, they were the minority in that position. And the solution isn't to just fucking arbitrarily give those people more positions. They got there because it was something they were interested in. It was something they specialized in, and they wanted to do well in it. That's crazy. My culture's not your costume. You're on stolen ground.
that's racist.
First of all, you need to have actually seen them do that work in the first place. And secondly, if you have seen it, you need to understand that work enough to recognize it as something worthwhile.
Do you really think that the people that work at a company that you have admitted only hire the best of the best and creates the highest profit per employee at $19 million? Do you really think that those people can't recognize good work and you can? How delusional and stupid could you possibly be?
Well, clearly they can't recognize good work because they're not hiring enough marginalized groups. They're blinded by their racism and their misogyny, and that's why there's too many crusty white men there at Valve.
It's hilarious that they even think that they can evaluate this better than they can.
And it's going to be so much harder to hire someone who is a woman or isn't white or any of the things that isn't your average Valve employee profile.
It's actually not going to be hard at all if the people have qualifications that mean Valve would want to hire them. Them having a VTuber or them not being white isn't going to fucking matter. I do not understand these people and why they are so obsessed with immutable characteristics. Oh, I just called being a woman an immutable characteristic. I'm canceled now.
Yeah, I think this right here, like videos like this, are the most corrosive and the most effective at radicalizing people against DEI or like liberal policies than Nick Fuentes, Sam Hyde, or Tony Robinson put together.
There's nothing in an overt, sinister sense that's discriminatory.
The problem, hold on, I'm gonna let him say that again. I'm gonna let him say that again.
Average Valve employee profile.
Yeah, I think this right here, like videos like this, are the most corrosive and the most effective at radicalizing people against DEI or like liberal policies than Nick Fuentes, Sam Hyde, or Tony Robinson put together.
There's nothing.
I think the problem with that is that these videos are going to enrage people like me who know what's going on. But they sound flowery and they sound good-natured enough that most average people are going to just nod along and be like, yeah, that is weird. Why won't Valve hire more women and minorities? They're gatekeeping them from the industry. And it's just like, that's kind of unfortunate. That's kind of unfortunate that the flowery language will pull the wool over that many people's eyes. It definitely sounds nice until you think about it for 1 second. Yeah, but we already know that the majority of people don't like thinking for themselves. And if they can outsource that thinking to the government just telling them what to do, they're going to go along with it.
In an overt, sinister sense that's discriminatory about the Valve hiring process.
All right. The problem here
All right,
is
video
that there's
over.
a comma and not a period. Why is there 2 more minutes? Is it the credits?
Except in the way that all hiring processes select for people that are like the people doing the hiring.
So
this guy is like, oh, well, once an Indian man gets in charge, he only hires other Indians. And once a black person gets in charge, they tend to only hire other black people. And once a Mexican person gets in charge, they tend to only hire other Mexicans. So clearly, if a company is all white people, those white men are also only hiring only other white people. Except they forget that white people, especially in America, have been conditioned for decades to not see color. We have been conditioned that meritocracy reigns supreme and that we should not have an in-group preference like everybody else seems to still have.
if the problem is that there's a bunch of people in this demographic that are hiring based off of their race, then the solution is to influence and bring in a different demographic of people that will hire based off of their race instead. We have to fight.
Yeah, it's reparations, Asmongold. You bigot. You don't want to give these marginalized, underrepresented groups the leg up that they deserve for being oppressed by whitey for so long?
Fight racism with racism?
Multiple current and
That's
former
exactly what anti-racism is. It's not actually anti-racism. It's being racist to the right people.
employees, they believe this issue is not being addressed because Valve's leadership simply does not understand it.
The people that run this multi-billion-dollar...
Yeah, I was about to say, the people who are making record profits per employee, they just don't understand. They can't understand because they're white, and that means they're inherently bad people who they're just dumb, you know?
Company that effectively has a monopoly almost on PC gaming. They just don't understand this. Yeah.
It's not that they're knowingly or explicitly sexist or racist or homophobic or anything.
It's just bias. Okay.
And this is why we need to unlearn biases. We all harbor unconscious biases within ourselves, and especially for white people, we need to unlearn those unconscious biases. And when you feel yourself thinking something about a bias pertaining to a certain group of people or a certain individual, you need to take the time out of your life to think about what brought you there and how you can undo that by maybe giving that person some extra help because you were discriminating against them in your own mind.
Okay, so they are. Okay, so can you prove it? No, but they are.
Should we make it easier for people of color to join the company? They'll just be like, why? I feel like that's the dividing line. They are.
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. Why, if somebody came to you and was like, you should hire more people of color, the correct answer is why. Why should I hire someone based on the color of their skin and not what they can bring to my company?
Should it be easier for a person of any race to join the company versus a person of another race to join the company? In what form of discrimination is that good?
Some of this frustration spilled out into a wider discussion.
Saint Floyd of the fentanyl, in his name we pray, our Lord. Every fucking time, chat! Every fucking time! I'm so sick of this. I'm sure there's gonna be someone who like watches me react to like the Sam Hyde thing and to this, and they're just like, I've caught this hypocritical Nazi in a conundrum. Oh, she wants American jobs to go to Americans, but she doesn't want to hire on immutable characteristics. What a fucking hypocrite! Oh man, it's please.
Company after the murder of George Floyd in early 2020 as a group of employees within Valve pushed for the company to make a public statement in support of the Black Lives Matter movement.
That's right, of course. Because what more important thing needs to happen for a company to outwardly state that they support Black Lives Matter? The company is not your platform to push a social agenda. The only reason—
I mean, even besides pushing a social agenda, Black Lives Matter is unironically, literally a terrorist organization. It is a terrorist organization that espouses Marxist ideals and uses useful idiots who like to parrot well, I don't have to agree with the organization to agree with the idea. Yeah, only like literally unironic KKK Aryan Brotherhood people are going to disagree with Black Lives Mattering. Again, this is why All Lives Matter was seen as a racist dog whistle, because it dismantles the subversion they were trying to push with using Black Lives Matter as a name to deflect any kind of criticism for how they were trying to transform culture in general to be more Marxist.
Reason why companies push social agendas is because they think that the social agenda will cause them to make more money.
And there were also people who felt incredibly passionate, regardless of their own individual political convictions, that Valve should not and must not do so.
Yeah, exactly, because it's not a political action company. It's not what its goal is. The thing is that I'm really glad to see videos like this be completely pretty much rebuked. People can realize that this is just basically discrimination, but in a different direction, so that means it's okay. Oh no, Valve hires competent people. Yeah, how's that going for them? So basically, whatever they're doing...
Stop hiring competent people and hire my specific people so that we can push ideology in your company and ruin it.
Is working really well. Wow, look at that.
Mold is everywhere! Why is that in my recommended? Stop making money. Yeah, I hope Gabe lives forever. When people looked into the company calling out Valve for not having enough diversity, it turns out everyone that worked there was also white. Side scrollers showed it when they covered... Wait, so this fishman complaining about the lack of diversity at Valve, the company he works for, is also entirely white? Again, if these people did not have double standards, they would not have any fucking standards at all. That's fucking funny. Wow! I'm shocked! Many such cases!